Florida Native Plant Society in the field again, and again in the great Apalachicola flatwoods of the Florida Panhandle, the land of the longleaf pine and the wiregrass. The season in which we're here might be reckoned in either of two ways. It is, of course, springtime by the annual calendar, April. One might also reckon it by the regularity of fire in these woods. See the charred trunk of the longleaf pine. The fire runs on maybe a cycle of, or an interval of 36 or 48 months, and in that sense the season we're here in is very, very early. This fire is just about a month and a half or less than 2 months old. We're of course in the Apalachicola National Forest. Arrived here by some fairly rough forest roads, miles from any pavement. We're 10 or 12 miles east of the Apalachicola River. And we're about to head into a bog in the Pinelands of the Apalachicola National Forest. We have a field trip party that's going to be looking enthusiastically for a diversity of spring wildflowers.
What are these?
That is a rich gold yellow flower, isn't it?
Yes.
Well,
The leaves are sort of silky looking.
Yeah, silky and wide. Well, y'all, I believe I know it's the pine woods silkgrass or pine woods golden aster. It's the genus is Pityopsis elegantha. This is a flowers early after a fire in woods like this. It's just coming up all through the wiregrass here. That is in the aster family and one of so many things that are in the aster family. In fact, it's just one of several silk grasses or golden asters. They're not grasses at all, they're asters, but this is
Do all
pine-woods golden
Pityopsis
aster.
have those silky leaves?
They do, which is really a kind of hairiness, tomentum on the leaves.
Oh, so they're tomentose.
Yes, that gives it that silky sheen. These flowers occur actually at a fringe or transition. As you see, we're heading down into lower ground. We're heading into a bog where most of the longleaf pines do not follow. There are a few pines, including a slash pine just down there, but we're going down into a bog that is completely open to the sun. That is so delicate. And see what the fire did to its leaves. You can see what they were like. It's obvious. Pitcherplant.
That's a real picture. There's some new ones coming up.
Yeah, flowering quickly after fire and new leaves growing up. But this is the Gulf Purple pitcherplant, Sarracenia rosea. It is only in Florida, only in the Panhandle here, and it's a threatened species officially.
Do you know what pollinates it?
I don't. I hope somebody here does. But it's got the petals to attract something, hasn't it? It attracted us, okay.
Hey, this one still has a flower.
Yeah. And look at
Oh, it's old, but it's hanging in there.
extravagant petals hanging on it.
And this is called a frog saddle. Oops, another petal fell.
Yeah. Well, so of course we're looking at the yellow pitcher plant, Sarracenia flavus, sort of the iconic pitcher plant in Florida. Has a range in the Panhandle and a little bit outside the Panhandle in the northern tier of counties. So yeah, these tall pitchers. Of course, they get taller than this too. But this blooms, the yellow pitcher plant blooms before March is out. It's Sarracenia flava. But look, just 2 feet from it, same species. But
It's red.
yeah, what's with that? It's just all streaked up with red. Actually, that's not at all uncommon. Sometimes they get simply red. And I think that some authorities consider those official varieties and maybe others don't, but it's the same.
It's still the Sarracenia.
Yeah, it goes under the yellow pitcher plant. So, obviously, we have come into a pitcher plant bog here.
What a color. Just like the balloons.
I would say that's a maroon. Okay, that third kind of pitcher plant we were just talking about. Look, anything look more like a parrot's head and breast and beak than that?
Yeah.
So it gives itself away right quick. Y'all know what this is, right?
The parrot pitcher plant.
The parrot pitcher plant.
Sarracenia.
Yes, those animal adjectives, bovine, porcine, serpentine. Well, how about citacine, meaning parrot or parrot-like? There it is. Sarracenia citacina, parrot pitcher plant.
Where do the bugs go in?
Well, under the throat of the parrot is an orifice. That, they say, is where the bug makes its fatal error and goes in and gets digested. Almost suggestive of little maroon balloons floating 1.5 foot above the ground on their tethers when seen from a distance. The party's getting a noisy reminder that the National Forest also affords a place for military jet fighter practice.
Boy, that pink stands out, doesn't it? It's almost purple. Yeah.
It's such a lovely color.
And I like it with the yellow contrasting centers.
And what do we have here?
They're a coreopsis.
Oh, Florida State Wildflowers, Coreopsis.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's in this wed, it'd be the nudata, right? The swamp coreopsis.
Say that again, Coreopsis what?
Nudata.
Nudata, swamp Coreopsis. What a pretty color. There's a lot of them out here too as I look around.
But you can't just plant these in your garden. They have to be in
Oh, they are
wet.
real wetland plant, right? Yeah.
Look at this little flower here of the sundew.
Oh, something else carnivorous. The sundew. Yeah, Drosera is the genus. That one has a flower too, 6 inches high.
Nice little sprout about to open.
Yeah. And see those glistening dots on the red foliage? That's the sticky mucus that the insect gets trapped in, get digested.
They're all over. There's some over near your booth there too.
Notice this plant just glistening from some distance. What's with this?
Sticky?
Oh, that is sticky.
Are there any bugs sticking to it?
Oh, is that what that's all about?
Yes, there's a bug right here under my finger.
Caught in that sticky stuff.
Yeah, caught up.
So he's going to be digested. So, okay, another carnivorous plant. Scientifically, it's Drosera tracei for the thread dew.
Is that Heleniums?
Yeah.
This is really pretty. With the yolk in the middle.
Yeah. Sunshine or egg yolk in the center. There's another aster.
Do they make you sneeze? No, they don't make you sneeze. It's just that they used to make snuff out of the dried flowers of sneeze weeds.
those flowers form. That form is,
These are really pretty. And the little ray flowers along the edge. Looks like they took in pinking shears or scissors, but they're not straight across, they're sort of zigzag. And this is where the seeds are made, in the middle?
yes, yes, they would be. Many seeds will be produced. And those are the disc flowers in the center, while around the side, radially, are the ray flowers. The gold color wildflower of the unflattering name sneezeweed is the genus Helenium.
Oh, pretty. It's like a lace.
These buttons standing up about 2 feet above the bog. So, I think we know what this is. This is, they're called bog buttons. They're called pipe warts. They're called hat pins. And this particular one is, look, you can mash that together and it stays kind of flattened. You do deform the shape of it and it stays that way a while. So this bog button or pipe wart has the epithet compressum, or the way you can compress it. It's Ariocolon compressum. Has those little rosettes of leaves at the bottom.
If you look at it under a loupe or magnifier, it looks like a lace. It's so pretty.
Let me just do that. That's intricate. So that's many flowers in that head. Woolly sunbonnet or pineland daisy. The genus is Chaptalia, and the specific epithet is tomentosa because that fine but very dense hairiness on the underside of the leaf makes it just white. The underside of the leaf of the woolly sunbonnet is just white with a very fine dense wool. And the upper side has plenty of it too, but just not quite as pronounced as the underside. It's about to become manifest to the group that a wildflower hotspot like this bog doesn't only attract layman wildflower enthusiasts, for who should appear but a scientist of the Pinelands. The party relishes the unexpected treat of interacting with Dr. Ann Johnson of the Florida Natural Areas Inventory, a scientific body designated to inform policy making. Shares a couple of ecological observations on the bog.
Background, but there was quite a few coming in.
There's one right over there. Oh, well, this is something that's quite common. Another aster. This is a fleabane. This particular one is the early spring fleabane, Origeron vernus. It has that rosette of bright green leaves, almost lightly succulent at the bottom. I noticed this one has found itself a little tussock of elevated, keeping its feet out of the water here. And also we're on a slight rise of ground. We're rising out of the deepest part of the bog, in other words, early spring fleabane. That is a delicate flower. That's an orchid, isn't it?
That's one of my favorites.
Yes. Which, it's a grass pink orchid. Which one is this?
It looks like it has a beard.
Ah, oh, which would make it the bearded grass pink.
Right.
Then. Okay, that would be Calopogon barbatus. Barbs meaning beard. The bearded grass pink orchid. Pretty delicate.
Yes. Wonder if it smells good.
I wouldn't call that fragrant, not that it's unpleasant. So, Osceola's plume, correct? Or crow poison, also called. That comes soon after fire in these pine flat woods, and there it is, sure enough. So, Stenanthium densum, crow poison, Osceola's plume. And there's quite a patch of it running on out into the burned flatwoods here. This, the flowering of this is stimulated by fire. Like so many things, they wait for the fire before they spend the energy to make seeds, flowers and seeds, and drop the seeds on the ground so it can be clean ground where the seeds fall on mineral soil, which is produced by fire. That condition is produced by fire. From our first stop, we know that the abundant yellow flowers the party is walking among here are the grass leaf silkgrass again. All around is the scorched evidence of what happens to shrubs that would like to multiply in this bog. Oh, a lot more water than last time. The cypress strand whose grassy fringe we're interested in is actually a drainage for a good area of pinelands, and we find it overflowed today. We've come to find a rare wildflower called Godfrey's butterwort, yet another carnivorous plant. Water 8 inches deep when you're looking for a flower 6 inches high looks to be a problem. Now the party is about to find the plant, and it's essentially drowned here today. This is Pinguicula ionantha, the Godfrey's butterwort or panhandle butterwort. Had the party not made a prior scout here, it might have largely missed the flowering of this endangered butterwort with its small flowers standing above a rosette of buttery leaves.
Butterwort. It's got red leaves.
Yes, I think you've got it there. Yeah, we said we knew there was another species of butterwort here, and this is it, Chapman's butterwort, Pinguicula planifolia.
Has it already stopped blooming?
It flowers early, say in February,
Oops.
and it has those reddish leaves, and before this rain over this last weekend, this would have been almost at the surface of the water, and it would have been an easier observation, but that's it. Down there just submerged 10 inches now. Chapman's butterwort. It's a threatened species in Florida, named of course for the great botanist Alvin Chapman, who lived out his life at Apalachicola. That stands up right like the yellow pitcherplant, but this, the mouth, has characteristics, that thick roll place, characteristics of the Gulf purple pitcherplant that we looked at a while ago.
And also the top isn't the typical yellow.
Ah, so could this be a hybrid of the yellow pitcherplant and the Gulf purple pitcherplant? The advancing of spring in the pinelands and bogs constantly brings new wildflower sights. The forest roads seem to call, and here we are again 2 weeks later.
It's a delicate little orchid.
Yes. Those angel wings bending
Right.
up from the sides. Well, the season has advanced just enough that we're now having more orchids come in. So this one would be the pale grass pink, Calopogon pallidus. We saw the bearded grass pink before, so now this has come in.
That's delicate.
It is delicate, the word for it. One of 4 grass pink orchids one's likely to see in this territory. The pale grass pink, Calopogon pallidus.
Sedges.
Yeah, pretty conspicuous from a distance. So, that is remarkable. That's not actually a flower that's making the white. That's, I guess you'd say those are bracts, but white for most of the way. So it's a beak sedge, right, or Rhynchospora?
White top sedge.
White top sedge, Rhynchospora latifolia. Conspicuous thing, it drew me from 40 feet away. Those bracts that are so white, down more than halfway the length of them. Rhynchospora latifolia, white top sedge. That's eye-catching.
Oh.
Such a gold. It's kind of a scabrous flower stalk, sandpapery.
Right.
But how often do we invoke the name of Chapman out in these woods? So here we go again. Chapman's crownbeard, Verbicena chapmanii. Only a minute ago we were observing that there are 4 kinds of grass pink orchids you might come across out in a wet place like this, and here's another one of them, the tuberous grass pink, Calopogon tuberosa.
That's a much deeper shade.
And a big flower. Beside all these yellow pitcher plants. So we keep looking for a rare and remarkable thing called a Harper's Beauty, but we haven't spotted it yet, but in looking we keep finding these other things. So, what would this be?
Well, we've got a rosy color. Rose begonia.
Rose begonia. Oh yeah, okay. So, begonia ophioglossoides. The rose begonia is another terrestrial orchid.
Oh, these love to be in water.
Ah. And what would that be?
Oh, bladderwort.
Bladderwort, or carnivorous again. Okay. So this would be the purple bladderwort. The bladderworts are the Utricularias, that's a genus. So Utricularia purpurea, purple bladderwort. I wonder what exactly they eat in this water. What kind of carnivory this is.
I'll bet there are little organisms we can't even see.
No doubt. But the structures that capture the prey are down in the water there.
Right there's one.
Oh yeah, bladders, yeah. Oh, yeah. When we were here a little over 2 weeks ago, it was clearly too early to find Harper's Beauty flowering, but we've had the aim ever since of coming back in its flowering time, and that's what we think we've done, but we have not yet spotted any Harper's Beauty flowering. We are getting rewarded, though, by finding a lot of other things. There's a lot more flowering, different things flowering in this bog than there were 2 weeks ago. All these plants are Florida native plants in their natural habitat. However, if the party is going to see the Harper's Beauty today, it apparently isn't going to be in this bog.
Another delicate
Mm.
flower. Wow.
Yes, it is. That would be a lobelia, wouldn't it?
Yep.
It's an arrangement of those flowers. So the white lobelia, Lobelia palidosa. So we've come uphill out of the bog proper now, approaching the edge of the road into a considerably drier situation to this plant's liking, I guess.
Oh, this one has such a pretty buttery color.
Mm-hmm. We're up here on the road bank again. Okay. Well, yellow I get, but the rest of the name, colic root, yellow colic root, what would that be all about?
I do not know.
Well, I've always supposed, like everybody else, that it must have had traditional or indigenous use for colic.
Right.
Yellow colic root.
I think so.
Elytris lutea. Lutea being yellow.
And I like the leaf structure. You can tell it even when it's not blooming.
Oh yeah, those are distinctive leaves.
Mm-hmm.
But this kind of flower stalk that's leafless is called a scape, which you probably knew, but the yellow colic root flowers on the tall scape.
This one's been hiding a little. One of my all-time favorites.
Good, fine.
Ooh.
I'm glad you spotted that. Costesiopsis auricamporum, for the record. An orchid right here on the flank of the forest road. This has the common name of fragrant begonia, and it has that name, they say, because the flower smells of vanilla. Could you verify that?
It smells good.
Let me have
good.
a try. It is vanilla. Yes.
It's good.
Isn't that funny now? The vanilla plant that we see all the time, I've never been able to smell vanilla in it. But the fragrant begonia definitely has a vanilla fragrance. such a shame that this has to be so common, because this orange of this milkwort would be something to write home about, but it's just that it's dirt common, the orange milkwort.
It is orange. Look at all that color.
That inflorescence. Each of these is made up of many, many flowers, like all milkworts.
Right.
So the orange milkwort, Caligula lutea, right?
Right. And lutea means yellow, but this is orange.
Yeah, it's really orange. Yeah, exquisite color. Just too bad it's not a rare plant. Imagine how we'd be exclaiming over it if
It's still pretty special. Yeah. I love the color.
Yeah. Well, remember 2 weeks ago when we were looking at the crow poison flowering? We didn't know why it's called that, but crow poison. But here's the aftermath of it flowering. It happens to be right beside yellow colic root, and we attributed the scape to the yellow colic root. Well, crow poison is on its scape too, which we might not have said 2 weeks ago. Here's what it leaves after flowering, so presumably there are the seeds in the ovaries down in there. Crow poison. We're up completely out of the bog now into the pine flat woods. These aren't even wet pine flat woods. They're more in the category that the scientists call mesic or mesic, meaning medium moisture. We call them pine flat woods, but sometimes they're also called pine barrens, which is appropriate to the occurrence of this flower here. This is the pine barren aster, correct? Its scientific name is Aclemina reticulata. Reticulata referring, I think, to a pattern of veination of the leaves, especially noticeable on the underside of the leaf. Reticulation, or net vein. So the pine barren aster. We're keeping our eyes peeled for the Harper's Beauty, which hasn't appeared for us yet. That a gorgeous color.
Yeah.
That is, it's like rose, right? So, rose gentian?
Rose gentian.
Okay, a fully open flower, and here's a flower bud. That bud tells you it's in the gentian family, the formation of that bud. Fully open. Man, the detail of the center of that flower is something exquisite. So, our old friend Bartram's rose gentian, this would be very early. I'm thinking too early for it. This is a rose gentian with many petals, at least a dozen. I have to confess I'm at a loss to say which species right now. What do you think?
Well,
it's a Sabbatia.
You know better. Yeah, it is a Sabbatia.
Genus Sabbatia.
Definitely.
It's a rose gentian. But I would have to put this one in abeyance for the moment as to species.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll get back to you. The wildflower explorers were put off at the moment, but the flower was Bartram's rose gentian after all, Sabbatia decandra. Still no Harper's Beauty, but remember one last bog visited 2 weeks ago?
This is one we've looked for all day.
Oh, yes. Finally we behold it right here in this bog.
Bud.
Yeah, there's the six flower parts, 6 petals and 6 stamens, and going up on a scape. So, well, Chapman wasn't the only botanist who roamed this part of the Florida Panhandle. There was Roland Harper too, and this honors him, Harper's Beauty, Harperocalis flava, flava being yellow. So, and this is a Florida endemic, known in only 3 counties here in the Panhandle.
Franklin, Bay, and Liberty.
And Liberty, yes. 3 counties. Florida endemic, so of course it's rare and endangered. Harper's Beauty. It is a beauty.
It is.
Yes, the only specimens we found today, this one open and this one budding to open. So today it's rare in more senses than one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just coming into its flowering period. So we, one little band of the Florida Native Plant Society, are sort of wrapping up our spring season in the great Apalachicola Flatwoods, Apalachicola National Forest. We just sort of crowned it with finding the Harper's Beauty, and we found so many things flowering this spring, and by the way, there will be more flowering as spring goes on and blends into summer. But this is available every year for people who care to get out in the National Forest. The Forest Service makes these prescribed burns every year someplace, and the wildflowers follow those. So anybody who wants to see Florida wildflowers, some of them rare and endemic, like the Harper's Beauty, in their natural habitat, just come out here. Southern Liberty County in the Apalachicola National Forest is a biodiversity hotspot.